Wow, man. I just got back from Oppenheimer, and wow, Christopher Nolan truly has done it again. I'm not a super fan of his, but he does make a ton of good movies. Like I watched the Batman trilogy he made for the first time about a year ago. I know I was late to the party on that one, but really enjoyed The Dark Knight. That was a fantastic film. Inception and Interstellar being some of my favorite long duration, thought provoking films of all time. And I still rewatch those two quite often, probably an unhealthy amount. Um, and yeah, I mean, this movie is no pushover. It does the exact same thing, and while not as fictionalized as Interstellar or Inception, because it's more historically based, it's more of like a biopic on Robert Oppenheimer, and it just delivers, man. It's intelligently written, it's so creatively shot and well done, and just the director flourishes they put on the film, whether it's, you know, the intensity and stress you feel with Oppenheimer and the repercussion of his decisions, and the visual nods to how he's feeling is so immaculately done. I mean, it is exceptionally well done. And the writing is just tight, interesting, intelligent, just extremely well done screenplay here. And you can really see it shine through. The acting was phenomenal, and I can't commend him enough for pulling all of these actors together, because you have people from like, you have like Josh Peck, right, who played in Drake and Josh. I mean, that was like his starter kickstart role, right? And now he's in this, right? Maybe he plays, you know, not too big of a character, but still, he actually does like one of the most important things in the film, which is dropping the atomic bomb, and it was so cool. So I love seeing him get some love. And Jack Quaid, obviously, I think that's his name, and he plays Huey in The Boys. So seeing him in here play a super serious role was super cool. Wasn't in it that much, but it's crazy, because even the big actors that only maybe had 2.5 to 3 minutes max of screen time absolutely delivered and did such an amazing job, and just delivered exactly what I think he was trying to get across. Because me as an audience member, I was just watching and going, these guys are killing it, man. Like, they are truly going all out on their acting performances and just delivering in this film. And I just love to see that. Nobody shoehorned in a performance. And obviously, Cillian Murphy playing Robert Oppenheimer killed it. I mean, he stole the screen every time he was on it. There was never a dull moment. It was all interesting. Everything he had to say, think, and feel, you felt as an audience, and it was just so very well done. And Robert Downey Jr. also got such a 180 type of role in this film, and he, as usual, absolutely delivered and did a great job. And I think he's only in the film for maybe a half hour max. He goes throughout the full duration of the film, but they always cut back and forth in a really cool style, whether it be the black and white courtroom or the color, what's happening in present time in terms of when the film takes place. Just very well done. I don't know how else to put it. Historically, now listen, I know about the Manhattan Project. I learned it in school. You know, I knew Oppenheimer was the man that kind of led the team that created the atomic bomb, the father of the atomic bomb. I knew the name. So the director was Christopher Nolan, obviously, but he was also the screenplay writer. So this really felt like his own pet project, you know what I mean? Like, it really felt like this was something he truly wanted to do, and I think that's why it delivered so nicely. But anyway, you know, I learned the Manhattan Project and all this stuff, you know, back in high school, whether it be for a research paper, project, whatever it was, for like my history class or something. Man, I never knew it to this degree, to this extent, and just how complex and complicated and just intense the whole thing was. And I think the film truly delivers on the historical event that took place during World War II, right? Whether it be the race against the Nazis when developing the bomb, or the race against the Soviet Union when developing the bomb. So I really, really found it just super interesting. And like I was saying earlier, it's very tight, very, very intellectual writing, just high quality. I think another thing that made this film incredibly well written and just super tight was that it was based off the book American Prometheus, which was about Oppenheimer, and just how much him as a human being correlated to the Greek mythological Titan god Prometheus, who was the Titan god of forethought and crafty counsel. And he was given the instruction to form mankind out of clay. But he stole fire from the gods, and they chained and tortured him for an eternity. And I think you really see the symbolism and the correlation that a Greek mythological god, Prometheus, has in common with Oppenheimer, and just how much they intersect each other when it comes to not only their stories, but the way they lived and the way they were treated based on their actions. So while giving fire to humans for Prometheus was a great feat for humankind, the gods punished him for it because they were like, this is not what you do. Oppenheimer develops an atomic bomb, a fully functional, highly devastating weapon of mass destruction that, you know, pushes humankind forward in a technological advancement kind of way, but in the same breath is looked down upon and frowned upon by literally everyone, including himself. Him realizing not only the feat he created, but the mistakes that kind of come with that creation as well. And I found that really intriguing because Prometheus is just a really interesting Greek mythological figure. And I've discussed this once before, but Greek mythology is my favorite. So when it comes to, you know, the relationship between real life and Greek mythology, I always get a really keen interest in. And I think that's what pulls me in more. So having this movie be based on the American Prometheus book, based on his life and his actions behind the Manhattan Project, I think they just absolutely killed it. And I think that's what made this film so far elevated from what it could have probably initially been. The only complaint I think I would even have to some degree is just a lot of character names are thrown around a lot, and being able to consistently visualize which character they were talking about, or, you know, person in U.S. history. It was just really hard to for them to keep throwing names out, and me just really trying to keep myself associated with who's who and, you know, who's doing what and that kind of thing. So that would probably be my only complaint, honestly, and that's really not even a complaint. It's really not saying much because the rest of the film was absolutely amazing. Now, I did feel the length of this film, and I think you will too. You will feel the length. It is long, but that's not a bad thing. It's never a dull moment. Even when the film feels like it's about to end and you're like, okay, I can see them wrapping it up here, it goes on for another 30 to 45 minutes and truly wraps the film up in just such a neat bow. And it actually harkens back to the beginning of the film where Einstein and Oppenheimer have a discussion by the pond, but you never hear the discussion. And spoiler alert, you do hear the discussion by the very end of the film. And I guess it's a spoiler alert, I don't know. It's historical events, I don't really know if you'd call it a spoiler, but anyway, you get my point. But it harkens back to the conversation that Oppenheimer and Einstein had at the beginning of the film near the pond. But at the end of the film, you actually get to hear the conversation they had and the implications they set forth in the conversation they have, you know, not only for the rest of the film and how it wraps up, but the world and the state we live in right now. There's really no comedy. There's like a couple little jabs at comedy here and there, but very well done. It didn't feel out of place. It was super subtle and dry, so like if you were really paying attention, you'd find it funny. If you know the history of this person and the events that he set forth by creating the atomic bomb, you know, you'd probably get a good chuckle out of it. I know the audience, my theater was packed, and I know the audience laughed a couple times. I didn't laugh, but that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the film or the jokes they were trying to lay out. I was just so enthused and intrigued with the story they were telling, you know, and just how much of the historical events they were covering throughout the 3-hour runtime that I was glued to my seat. I mean, there was even a moment I had to get up to go use the restroom, and I didn't. I was like, nah, I'm going to hold it. And it was like an hour and a half more of the movie, and I was like, nope, I'm holding it. I'm watching this thing. I was that intrigued. And normally, I'm not the type to get up and go away, but Here, I could not get up and go away. It was that good. The movie, like I said, you do feel the length, but it's just so entertaining throughout the entire runtime, and even just the finality of the film, the way it concludes, is so thought-provoking but beautiful and just so stylish, if that makes sense. It's hard to describe without going into define spoilers, right? But it's hard to talk about without going into them. I mean, simple as that, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But wonderful film. Christopher Nolan did it again. I've said it a couple times. This film and Mission Impossible are absolutely the movies of the summer, if not the movies of the year, man. I mean, these are the two best films I've seen at a movie theater, at least in the last year, 2 years. I mean, I can't think of any movie prior to these two where I was truly glued to my seat and was loving every minute of it. This one, you do have fun with, but it's so much more intense and intellectual and just mature and just far better historical drama. And it's a biopic through and through. I mean, some of the things I've never even known about Oppenheimer were displayed here. And being able to just digest how he was as a human being and how he reacted to the things that he made or to the actions he chose. It's just, what a phenomenal film, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Listen, I know that not everybody likes Christopher Nolan's style, and that's truly okay, but this is a must-see film. Whether you see it in theaters or not, I don't know. That's up to you. I think you should go see it in theaters. You should always support a film in theaters, in my opinion. The environment of a theater is just so much better than sitting alone watching it on Netflix, you know? But if you decide, I don't like theaters and I want to watch this on a streaming service, I couldn't recommend this enough. It is just, not only does it feel like a movie you have to see, I think it's a movie you need to see. I mean, seriously, like, everybody should learn the historical events that took place during the Manhattan Project and how Oppenheimer was as a human being and the decisions that these kind of people have to make, even though they're contractually obligated to do a job, whether it be for the military, their country, you know, these bigger forces in play. Like, these are high power forces, immense stature on the world, and they have to work for them, and they don't care what the physicist or the scientist is thinking or feeling in regards to their creation. They want it done. They need the job done because they need to set a principle and they need to let the world know, you know, who's boss, essentially. And it's just super interesting, and just the repercussions of his actions, him going out and, you know, basically protesting against the ideas, wanting to set up, like, you know, laws in place for these kind of things, and which rightfully so, you know, any smart person would be like that. And just how the government kind of reacted to his actions of doing that, and just how he was as a human being and kind of what drove him through. And my favorite part of the film, slight spoiler I suppose, is what Einstein ended up saying to him at the pond at the very beginning of the film. Very powerful line, extremely. Now, I don't know if it's word for word, you know, historically accurate, but even if the premise of the words he spoke to Oppenheimer were, you know, the same or similar, what a fantastic, hard-hitting, thought-provoking message. You will walk out of the theater going, holy crap, man, this is the world we live in. And it's just insane, and I absolutely adored it. You need to go see it. I highly recommend it. That's going to wrap up my thoughts. I don't want to keep going on about it because I just love the film. I want you to see the film whether you want to or not. You need to, I think. You already know what I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it my scorching rating on this film. Absolutely deserves it. Scorching all the way. Hot. This movie is fresh off the burner. Touch the tongue, put it on, sizzle. Very, very well done. Couldn't recommend it enough. Anyway, if you made it this far, you know, I appreciate the hell out of you. I just like doing these, as I've always said. It's a fun little hobby, and I feel like, you know, getting my opinions out there is just a nice way for me to kind of talk about what I just saw. And I love going to movies. I love playing video games, so I do the climate reports for both. And yeah, it's nice to get my thoughts out there. Did you enjoy the film? If so, leave a comment down below. But yeah, that's going to wrap up my thoughts on Oppenheimer. You gotta go see it, seriously. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Go see the film. Peace out.